The night sky burned with strange blue flames. Smoke rose above the alien jungle as strange animals cried in fear. The ground shook with the sound of heavy boots, loud drums, and metal chains. In the center of a black stone clearing stood a tall cage made of glowing glass. Inside that cage was a young alien girl, her skin pale silver, her eyes bright gold. Her name was Lyra, and she was about to die. The cage hung above a deep pit filled with hot blue fire, ready to rise and turn her into ash. Hundreds of tall alien warriors stood around the fire pit, wearing red armor and holding long, sharp weapons. Their faces were hidden by metal masks, and their eyes glowed red. They shouted in their harsh language, calling Lyra a traitor, a danger, a curse. She gripped the bars of the cage, shaking, but not crying. She was brave, but she was alone. A voice came from a high black tower behind the fire pit. The voice of the High Warden, the judge of this alien tribe. She is the last of her kind, he said, his voice loud and cold. And she must burn tonight. A large clock above the fire pit started to count down. 5 minutes to flame. Lyra closed her eyes. Breathing slowly, she whispered something in her own language. Something no one else understood. She knew this day would come, but she didn't think it would come so fast. She looked at the stars one last time, when suddenly something strange happened. The sky ripped open with a flash of white light. Something was falling from above, a bright object, glowing like fire. The warriors looked up, raising their weapons, confused and scared. Then the object crashed into the middle of the stone clearing with a loud boom. Dust and smoke filled the air, and the ground cracked beneath the impact. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, a figure stood up from the smoke. It was not alien. It was not from their world. It was human. He wore a black and silver power suit, cracked and smoking from the crash. His face was hard, his eyes cold, and he held a plasma rifle in his right hand. The warriors raised their weapons, shouting in fear and rage. The High Warden pointed at the human. Kill the outsider, he ordered, but before anyone could move, the human aimed and fired. A blue bolt of energy flew across the clearing and hit the cage's chains. The chains snapped and the cage fell. Lyra screamed, the crowd gasped, and the fire below roared higher, but just before the cage hit the flames, the human jumped. He moved fast, faster than anyone expected. He caught the falling cage with one hand, smashing the door open with the other. He grabbed Lyra and pulled her out just before the heat could touch her. Then he rolled across the ground, shielding her body with his armored suit. Flames burst behind them as the cage was swallowed by fire. The crowd was in shock. Who was this man? Why was he helping her? Lyra stared at the human, confused and weak. Why? Did you save me? She asked softly. The human didn't answer right away. He looked around, scanning for danger, and then looked down at her. My name is Ethan Kane, he said, and I don't like people burning little girls alive. The warriors recovered from their shock and started running toward them. Move, Ethan shouted, picking Lyra up in his arms. Blaster bolts flew past them as Ethan ran into the jungle, leaves and branches whipping at his helmet. He didn't stop, didn't slow down, even as the jungle floor got rough and full of roots. Behind him, the warriors chased with angry cries and glowing weapons. Lyra held onto him tightly, her heart racing, her mind full of questions. Who was this man? Where did he come from? How did he find her? But most of all, was he really here to help her? Or was she just jumping from one fire into another? They ran deeper into the jungle, where no one had gone for years. The air grew colder, darker, and quiet. Only the sound of their breathing and the distant shouts of the warriors remained. Finally, Ethan stopped near a large stone wall covered in vines. He placed Lyra down and touched a hidden panel. A secret door opened with a hiss. We'll be safe in here for now, he said, looking at her with serious eyes. Lyra didn't know if she could trust him, but she also knew she had no other choice. She nodded slowly and followed him into the darkness. The door closed behind them, hiding them from the world. But outside, The alien warriors were not giving up, and inside, Lyra's secret was still burning. Brighter than any fire, asterisk smoke still danced in the sky as the jungle burned behind them. Trees with glowing red leaves cracked and fell. Ash floated like snow in the air. The fire wasn't just chasing them, it was hunting them. Ethan Kane didn't stop. His arms ached from carrying Lyra, but his legs kept moving, his eyes scanning the wild shadows around him. He didn't trust the silence in this jungle. Never meant safety. Lyra held onto him tightly, her body still weak. Her silver skin was scratched, and her long white hair tangled with leaves, but her mind was racing. Why had this human risked his life to save her? How did he even get here? And what would he do when he found out the truth? A screech echoed behind them, sharp and metallic. Alien warriors had entered the jungle. Tracking them through the burning trees, they were fast, and they had beasts with them, tall, six-legged hunters with eyes that glowed yellow. "We're not alone anymore," Ethan said. Breathing hard, he slid behind a large root and gently placed Lyra down. He pulled out a round device from his belt and tossed it behind them. Boom! A flash of light burst through the jungle, shaking the ground and slowing their pursuers. "We have 5 minutes," Ethan said. "Maybe less." Lyra looked at him, confused, but curious. "You knew I was there," she said. "In the fire cage, how?" Ethan didn't answer at first. He checked his weapon, then looked at her with serious eyes. "You're not just some girl," he said. "You're holding something important, aren't you?" Lyra hesitated, then slowly reached under her collar. She pulled out a glowing crystal, small and soft blue. Ethan's eyes widened. That's a star map," he whispered. Lyra nodded. "This crystal holds the location of an old human base," she said. "It was built long ago, before the war between humans and my people. That base was shut down," Ethan said. "No. One survived." Lyra looked away. "There are things hidden there, dangerous things, weapons, maybe even answers." Before Ethan could speak, a loud crack echoed from the trees. One of the alien beasts leaped toward them, claws raised, jaws wide. Ethan spun around and fired, but his plasma rifle clicked empty. "No rounds," he muttered, pulling Lyra close, ready to protect her with his body. The beast pounced only to be slammed by falling rubble from a burned tree above. Both Ethan and Lyra looked up, shocked. It was as if the jungle itself had saved them. "We have to move now," Ethan said, grabbing Lyra's hand. They ran again, deeper into the jungle. The trees grew darker here, twisted and silent. Suddenly, they reached an old metal door, half covered in moss and dirt. Lyra stepped forward and placed her crystal into a hidden slot beside it. The crystal glowed, and the door began to open, slow and loud. Inside was darkness, cold, still and full of memory. "This is it," Lyra said quietly. "The human base." Ethan stepped inside first, his hand on a backup pistol. "Stay behind me," he said. "These places never stay quiet for long." As they entered, lights blinked on above them. One by one, old machines powered up with a soft hum. Lyra looked around, her eyes wide. The walls were covered in human writing and holograms. This place had been forgotten by time, but not by war. They moved deeper into the base, past broken labs and dusty control rooms. Suddenly, Ethan froze. "Wait," he whispered. He pointed toward the far wall, red lights blinking, watching old security bots. Their eyes came alive with a flash of red. One by one, they turned their heads toward Ethan and Lyra. "Unauthorized life forms detected," the robot said in flat voices, activating defense mode. Ethan pulled out his last weapon, a shock baton. "Guess we're not welcome guests," he said, smirking. Lyra stepped beside him, her hands glowing softly with alien light. "I can help," she said. "Just don't get in my way." Ethan looked at her with surprise, but nodded. Then, "Let's make some noise." As the robots charged toward them, weapons glowing, Ethan and Lyra ran straight into the fight side by side. They didn't trust each other, not yet. But tonight, they were all they had. And the real danger hadn't even begun. The air inside the ancient base was cold. Not the kind of cold that chills your skin, but the kind that reaches your bones. Every step echoed like a whisper from the past. Broken lights flickered above them, painting the hallway in flashes of white. And shadow. Ethan moved first, slow and ready, his eyes on every corner. Lyra followed close behind, her small glowing crystal back in her hand. They had just escaped the jungle, barely, fought off old security bots that still thought the war was happening, and now they were walking into the heart of something even older. Something that was never meant to be found again. This place, Ethan whispered. I've been here before. Lyra looked at him, surprised. But you said the base was lost. It was, he replied, touching a burnt handprint on the facade wall. I was a soldier here 15 years ago. They turned a corner, and suddenly the hallway opened into a large chamber. Dust floated through the light like stars. In the center of the room stood a metal pedestal, and above it, a hollow screen hovered. Flickering, Lyra walked toward it slowly. This is where the map leads, she said. The answers are here. She placed her crystal on the pedestal. It clicked into place, and the screen came alive. Holograms lit up, showing planets, moons, and stars spinning in 3D. Lines connected worlds together like spider webs. In the center of the map was a planet that shined brighter than the rest. Earth. Ethan stepped closer, confused. That can't be right. Earth was never on this map before. Lyra narrowed her eyes. Someone updated it, she said, recently. Suddenly the hologram shifted. A video began to play, grainy and old. On the screen appeared a human scientist, face tired, eyes full of fear. If you're watching this, the man said, it means the secret didn't die with me. Ethan and Lyra leaned in, watching, listening. The alien girl. Lyra's kind. They're not what we thought, the man continued. They don't carry weapons. They are the weapon. Lyra stepped back, shaking her head. No, that's not true, she whispered. The message went on. They were created, not born, by a project called Stellar Gene. We made them too perfect, too powerful. Then they escaped and we lied. Ethan's hands clenched. You're saying your people are man-made? Lyra looked down at her hands, glowing faintly. Her breath shook. I didn't know, she whispered. I thought I was just different. Suddenly, the room shook. A deep boom echoed from the entrance. Ethan spun around, weapon ready. They've found us, he growled. Outside, the alien warriors had tracked them. They were cutting through the door with plasma blades. We have to leave, Lyra said, grabbing the crystal from the pedestal. But not before I get this, Ethan replied, pulling a drive from the console. It has everything, the experiments, the truth, the coordinates. As the door started to break, Lyra touched the map one last time. The stars shifted and revealed something hidden beneath the map. A locked section, glowing in red, marked with one word, Project Xenon. What's that? She asked. Ethan stared at it, frozen. It's worse than anything we've seen so far, he said. It was the backup plan in case the war couldn't be won. The final alarm began to scream, warning structural failure. The voice said, enemy breach in progress. Ethan turned to Lyra, eyes sharp. We run now, he said, or we die in here. Lyra nodded, but her face had changed. Not just afraid anymore, but angry. Angry that her life was a lie. Angry that humans made her people, then hunted them. Angry that her memories weren't her own. As they rushed through the back corridors of the base, the star map behind them faded to black. But the secret they now carried burned hotter than any fire. They didn't know it yet, but they were now at the center of something far bigger than a war. A secret that could save both races or destroy them both. Asterisk. The lights flickered, then died. Darkness swallowed the corridor as Ethan and Lyra stepped deeper into the old base. Only the glow from Lyra's crystal lit the way. Their footsteps echoed on the metal floor. Too loud, too alone. But it wasn't just the silence that chilled the air, it was the feeling that something or someone was still watching them. "This place is dead," Ethan said, his voice quiet. "But it doesn't feel empty," Lyra nodded, her gold eyes scanning the walls. "This base saw things," she said. "Terrible things." Ahead, a broken door creaked open by itself. Beyond, it was a large room, part lab, part memorial, dozens of black chairs, all empty. Screens cracked and hanging loose, old human uniforms scattered across the floor. And on the far wall, painted in faded red, were 3 words, "We are sorry." Lyra stepped forward and touched one of the uniforms. It turned to dust in her hand. "These were your people," she whispered. Ethan didn't answer. His eyes were locked on a rusted nameplate, still stuck to the wall. "LT, Ethan Kane, Squad 12. Lyra turned, surprised. This was your unit?" Ethan nodded slowly. "We were sent here during the early war," he said. "Told we were protecting a secret weapon. But no one told us what the weapon was." He walked to a nearby console and wiped away the dust. The screen flickered to life, showing old logs, files, video feeds. One of the files was marked with today's date, but it was 15 years old. He opened it. A video played, showing a younger Ethan in uniform. Standing with 5 other soldiers, they were laughing, joking, alive. Then came the screams, the explosions, the chaos. The video turned red, alarms blared, and finally only silence. Lyra looked away. "I'm sorry," she said. Ethan didn't speak. He just stared at the screen, stared at the moment everything changed. "That day something escaped," he said. "Something they created here. And it killed everyone." Lyra's hands shook. "You think it was one of us?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Ethan turned to her, but not with anger, with truth. "I don't know what it was," he said, "but it wasn't your fault. It was ours." Before she could respond, a soft click echoed through the chamber. Both of them froze, the sound of a boot on metal. Then another. Someone was here. Ethan raised his weapon, eyes sharp. Lyra dimmed her crystal, hiding the light. From the shadows stepped a tall man, face hidden by a gray mask. His voice was deep and smooth. Well, he said. "Look what crawled back from the dead." Ethan stiffened. "No," he said. "You can't be alive." The man removed his mask, revealing a familiar face. Older now, tired but cruel. Captain Yarrick, Ethan's old commanding officer. "I told you not to come back here," Yarrick said. "And yet here you are, with the key to everything." Lyra stepped back, confused and alarmed. "You know him?" she asked. "He led the team," Ethan said coldly. "But he left us behind." Yarrick smiled. "Orders, Kane," he said. "We all follow them. But now I follow new orders." From behind Yarrick stepped 2 alien warriors, armored, and silent. "You're working with them?" Ethan shouted. "The ones who tried to burn her alive?" Yarrick tilted his head. "Lyra is more than just a target," he said. "She's the missing piece. She doesn't just carry the map, she is the weapon." Lyra's heart stopped. Ethan stepped in front of her. "I won't let you take her," he said, ready to fight. "You don't have a choice," Yarrick replied, and then he gave the order. "Take them." The alien guards moved fast. Ethan fired. Lyra screamed. The lab lights exploded in sparks. Chaos returned to the base. In the shadows, ghosts of the past watched it all happen again, history repeating itself. And this time, it might end with both of them gone. The lights died. Silence rushed in like a wave, thick, suffocating. Then came the flash. Blinding light. A scream, a crash of metal, and everything fell apart. Lyra's ears rang as she crawled behind a broken console, her heartbeat loud in her chest, her hands shaking. Ethan was gone from her sight. Smoke covered the room like a dark fog. The last thing she saw was Yarrick's smile, cold, empty, sure. Footsteps echoed. Slow and heavy, a voice followed, sharp like a knife. "You should have stayed in the fire cage, girl," Yarrick said. "You would have died clean," Lyra gritted. Her teeth. She wasn't going to run anymore. Not from warriors, not from the truth, not even from herself. She closed her eyes, placed one hand on her chest. The crystal glowed, but not like before. This time, the light was red, deep and alive. Something inside her was changing, awakening. Meanwhile, Ethan fought in the dark, one alien down, another charging at him. He blocked the blade with his arm. Pain exploded up his side. He swung hard with his baton, breaking through the armor. Then he saw it, a flash of silver in the smoke. Lyra, standing, eyes glowing, hand raised. "No," he shouted. "Don't use it." But it was too late. The energy burst from her palm like lightning. It wrapped around the room, pulling machines off the ground. The alien warriors screamed as they were thrown back. Even Yarek had to fall to one knee, surprised by the force. Lyra stood in the middle of the chaos, hair floating, light dancing around her. Not scared, not weak, something else now. Something powerful. When the smoke cleared, the room was broken, but quiet again. Ethan stepped closer, slowly, his eyes full of confusion and fear. "What was that?" he asked. Lyra looked at her hand like it belonged to someone else. "I didn't know I could do that," she said. "I didn't want to." Ethan didn't speak. He just looked at her, and something changed in his face, doubt, before she could say anything more. A groan came from behind a fallen wall. Yarek stood again, bruised but alive and laughing. "I told them," he said. "I told them she was more than just a map. She's the weapon Project Xenon, walking, breathing, and finally awake." Lyra stared at him. "That's not true," she said, her voice cracking. "I'm not some weapon." "Oh, but you are," Yarek replied, stepping forward. "Slowly, you were built in our labs from alien DNA and human tech. Your body was made to store energy, your mind shaped to obey." Ethan turned to her. "Is it true?" he asked, quiet, broken. Lyra shook her head. "I don't know," she said. "Maybe. But I'm not your enemy." Yarek raised a device in his hand. One press and a signal echoed through the base. Emergency locks slammed shut, trapping them inside. "Now you don't get to choose," Yarek said. "Either you come with me, or you burn with him." Lyra looked at Ethan. His eyes said nothing now, only walls. She stepped back, torn. If she ran, maybe she could survive. If she stayed, she'd have to fight both of them. But before she could decide, Ethan moved fast. He grabbed a broken power cable and slammed it into the floor. The room went dark again, but this time, not by accident. It was cover. Lyra felt a hand grab hers in the black. "Still don't trust you," Ethan whispered. "But I'm not leaving you." They ran past sparks, broken walls, and alarms. Behind them, Yarek screamed orders into his comms. "Seal the base, don't let them reach the exit." But it was too late. Lyra and Ethan had already vanished into the underground tunnels, bleeding, confused, betrayed, but still together. And deeper in the base, machines came alive, old programs woke up. Project Xenon had returned, and the system was ready to obey. Ethan Kane was drowning, not in water, but in silence, in memories. Dark tunnels surrounded him, walls closing in, air too thin. His mind filled with voices from the past. His fallen team, Yarek's betrayal, and Lyra's powers exploding like a storm. He sat alone in the dark, armor cracked, blood on his face, one hand clenched around a photo, old and burned. The last image of Squad 12, his brothers, his family, all gone. He wanted to give up, but then he heard her voice. "Ethan." Lyra knelt beside him, eyes soft, hands glowing faintly. "I know you hate what I am," she said, "but I didn't ask for this." Ethan looked at her. The girl he rescued from fire, now a living weapon, hunted by both sides, and still, she hadn't run. She had stayed. He nodded slowly. "I don't hate you," he said. "I hate that I wasn't strong enough to stop them." Lyra reached out and placed her hand on his chest. "You were strong enough to save me," she whispered. "Now be strong enough to finish it." Something clicked inside Ethan. A small flame, buried deep, began to rise. He stood up, taller, Sharper, the fear in his eyes replaced with fire. "I'm done hiding," he said. "It's time to end this." Meanwhile, deep inside the base, alarms began to scream. Doors opened on their own. Machines powered up. Something was waking. Project Xenon, in a control room covered in dust. Old screens came to life. Data ran across the glass. Too fast to read. And in the center, a voice spoke in cold digital tone. "Primary subject detected. Initiating override." Lyra flinched. She grabbed her head, pain shooting through her skull. "I feel it," she said. "Something's calling me." Ethan held her steady. "Then we go there," he said. "We end it before it controls you." They followed the lights now blinking along the floor, step by step into the deepest part of the base, below the labs, below the tunnels, into the core. As they entered, the room opened wide. A huge chamber, round, glowing red, at its center. A giant machine stood like a sleeping beast, wires like veins, tanks filled with liquid. And inside one of those tanks another girl, silver skin, golden eyes just like Lyra, but still frozen. Lyra gasped. "That's May." "No," Ethan said, stepping forward. "That's what they wanted you to be." A voice echoed through the chamber. It wasn't human. It wasn't alien. It was something in between. "Project Xenon. Restart sequence in progress." Yorick's voice followed, this time from a speaker above. "You brought her right where I needed her," he said. "Once the system connects, she'll lose herself and the real weapon will awaken." Ethan pulled out his last grenade. "I'll blow this place apart before I let that happen, but—" Lyra stepped forward. "No," she said. "It's time I face it." She walked to the machine, her hands glowing, the crystal in her chest reacting to the systems around her. Ethan started to stop her, but she turned to him. "Calm. I'm not a weapon," she said. "And I'll prove it." She placed her hands on the machine. Energy surged. Light exploded through the room. Sparks flew, wires snapped, tanks cracked. Open. The frozen girl inside the chamber began to vanish, disappearing like a ghost. Lyra screamed as pain shot through her, but she didn't let go. The system tried to overwrite her mind, tried to force commands, erase memories, insert control, but she pushed back. Not with strength, but with will. Ethan ran to her, caught her as she collapsed. The machine behind them broke apart. Power dying, voice silent. It was over. Yarick's voice cut out mid-sentence. The base shutting down around them. No more commands. No more weapons, just silence again. But this time not a silence of death. A silence of freedom. Lyra opened her eyes. Weak but smiling. "It's gone," she whispered. "I stopped it." Ethan looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, he didn't see a weapon. He saw a hero together. They walked out of the chamber, but above them, far above, a ship waited, and on it, Yarick stood watching, angry, ready for war. Because the final fight had not ended. It had just changed shape, and now, the last battle wouldn't be about survival, it would be about choice. The sky above the jungle had never been this still. No fire, no warships, no screams, just clouds drifting over the broken world. But below that silence, a ship hovered, waiting, dark, silent, and heavy with purpose. Inside that ship, Captain Yarick stood at the command deck, his hands behind his back, his eyes cold. He watched the screens showing the ruins below, the destroyed base, the collapsed machine, and two figures walking out of smoke, Ethan Kane and Lyra. Two survivors, two threats, and one final loose end. "She's not ready to die," Yarick said softly, "but she's ready to choose." Down below, Lyra stared up. At the sky, her skin was pale, her arms weak, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. She had broken the system, silenced the machine. But she knew the fight wasn't over, not yet. "They're coming," she whispered. "They won't stop. Until I'm gone." Ethan stood beside her, battered but alive. "They'll have to go through me," he said. Lyra smiled gently. "I'm not scared anymore." From the clouds, a beam of light fell to the ground, a signal from the ship, an offer, "Step into." The light, surrender, and the world would be spared. That's what Yarok promised. But Lyra knew better now. It was never about peace. It was about control. Ethan touched her shoulder. "We can run," he said. "We can disappear." Lyra looked at him. "No," she said. "I've been running my whole life. It ends today." She walked toward the beam of light, slow and calm. Every step felt like walking through history. Her own story, her own fear, her own fire. Yarok's voice echoed from above. "Well done, Lyra," he said. "You made it further than the others. Now step forward, and this war ends." Lyra stood just at the edge of the beam. Behind her, Ethan watched, tense. Then she raised her hand, and the crystal in her chest began to glow, but not blue. Not red, white, bright, pure, whole. Yarok's screen glitched. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "You're not programmed to." "I'm not programmed," she said. "I'm alive." And then she made her choice. She lifted both hands to the sky and released everything. All the power she had held back, all the light, the pain, the strength, the truth, it burst from her in waves. Not to destroy, but to cleanse. The ship above shook violently. Its systems fried. Alarms screamed. Yarok staggered back, eyes wide. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he said. She was just a prototype. But Lyra had become more than code, more than design. She was free. When the light faded, the jungle was quiet again. The ship was gone. Not crashed, not burning, just vanished. Lyra collapsed to her knees. Gasping, Ethan ran to her, caught her before she fell. "Is it over?" he asked, holding her close. She nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "But not for me." Ethan looked confused. "What do you mean?" Lyra reached into his hand and placed the crystal, now dim. "You're human," she said. "You're the one who can rebuild something better." Ethan shook his head. "I need you for that." Lyra smiled, soft and tired. "I was made to carry this," she said. "But you were made to carry on." In the days that followed, peace returned. The war between humans and her kind began to end, not with guns but with truth, and every child that grew up hearing the story of the alien girl who chose light over war also heard the name of the man who walked with her, Ethan Kane, the soldier who became more than a fighter. He became her friend, her witness, her voice. The galaxy didn't remember them as hero and weapon. It remembered them as a team, 2 lives, 2 worlds, 1 final choice, made not to win, but to change everything forever.